Hello, fellow planters. So I'm going to talk to you today about the Arabian jasmine, also known as Jasminum sambac. And the word sambac comes from the Arabic word zamba. And these don't really originate in the Middle East despite the name Arabian jasmine. They're typically from Asia, around like India, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and they've also become very popular in other countries. Like in 1934, it became the national flower of the Philippines, and it's known as mogra in India. And it's also one of the 3 national flowers to Indonesia, and I think it became declared that, if I'm not mistaken, it was in the 90s. But anyway, these typically can grow up to 3 meters or 10 feet tall, give or take. Some sources say they grow as short as half a meter or 1.6 feet, but it probably can grow a little bigger than that. It may depend on whether it's pot-bound or growing in the soil and what the growing conditions are. Now, it's an evergreen shrub, and they bloom in clusters of 3 to 12. So as you can see here, you have a cluster of 3, but then over here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's kind of interesting how on the same plant you have clusters with different numbers, like 2, 3, 5, another one with 2. And the blooms tend to form at the end of the branch tips. Now, this variety I have is the Maid of Orleans cultivar, which was basically cultivated in Tunisia. And there are so many different cultivars. The Grand Duke of Tuscany has like a double flower, and that's the kind that is typically grown for making jasmine tea, just because the flower has more petals. So it makes more sense commercially, but you can still make jasmine tea out of the Maid of Orleans. Now, keep in mind that there are so many plants that are referred to commonly as jasmine, but they're not true jasmine, and some are poisonous. So make sure, if you want to make your own tea with jasmine flowers, you are using Jasminum sambac and not any other variety. Now, among other cultivars include the Belle of India, the Mysone Mallige, if I pronounce it correctly, the Elongata, and you also have a Grand Duke Supreme, and also the Arabian Knights is similar to the Grand Duke of Tuscany, but the flowers are a little smaller. Now, these can be grown outdoors year-round in zones 9 to 12, but you can grow them in a pot, take them outside in the summertime, bring them back in the winter time in colder climates. They like a well-draining soil, but one that retains moisture. However, I have this in a pot with no drainage holes. So as you can see, so it can still do well as long as you don't overwater it. And you can fertilize it around 4 times a year. And they like nice warm temperatures between 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And they like 6 to 8 hours of full sun and partial shade as well. But I had this growing inside under a west-facing windowsill, and it was growing anemic, and then this growing season I took it outside to the north side of the house, and it's flourished. It gets a lot of bright diffused light, but not direct sunlight where I had it. So even though they love direct light and really hot temperatures, it was getting the hot temperatures without direct light, and it's been doing nicely. Now, the flowers are typically white, and then as they age they can turn yellow, but they typically fall off before that. But you also can find pink flower varieties. And these, because you can make tea out of them, they are actually safe around pets. So you don't have to worry about little Fluffy getting poisoned if they decide to nibble on this. And they basically, they can be propagated via cuttings. So you take a cutting, dip it in hormones, stick it in soil, and give it some nice humidity. Or you can fertilize it by layering. But they do have a beautiful smell. but it's also pretty strong, so it can make you nauseous if you have too much of this, you know. But anyway, so that is about the Arabian Jasmine, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and please click that subscribe button at the bottom.